with their philosopher king, Curtis
Yarvin.
Yesterday, he said billionaires in America aren't real billionaires. They are billionaire N-words because I shit you not. I shit you not. I have said on the record, Curtis Yarvin is the most dangerous ideological character since Osama bin Laden.
Him saying that America needs to get over their dictator phobia and that people who don't contribute enough to society, we could just turn them into biofuel.
Right.
Which he did say, and the idea that democracy is like, we don't want that. We should have network states where these tech bro kings basically rule each one of these network states we don't have democracy and freedom anymore. I thought that was bad enough. But this guy, you're right. He's flown under the radar for a long time. And this is a guy that Peter Thiel said was his political guru.
Good God.
This is Black Man Spy.
Hi, I'm Malcolm Nance, and welcome to this week's episode of Black Man Spy. If you're listening, you can't see that I am sitting in what appears to be the masterpiece theater set of Black Man Spy. That's because I'm in a beautiful wingback chair in front of a marble fireplace and with beautiful paintings adorned all around me because I'm in Washington, D.C., and I am here for an event with the International Spy Museum. More about that later. But today we are interviewing Tara Setmayer. She is the resident scholar at the University of Virginia Center for Politics. She regularly appears as an on-air commentator on MSNBC, which is where I know her from, and is co-founder and CEO of the Seneca Project. It is a bipartisan super PAC led by women dedicated to mobilizing women voters in key swing states. We have an exciting interview, so let's move on and hear what Tara Setmayer has to say about Jeffrey Epstein, women, and national security. Every time Donald Trump opens his mouth, he goes deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, and the nuances of the relationship are coming to the front. Now, why are we interested in this on the Black Man Spy podcast? Well, it's as simple as this. These things are now having national security impacts, direct impacts. We have the director of national intelligence literally claiming that a former president of the United States committed treason and that she found evidence in the intelligence community showing that Barack Obama, by her reading of it, Tulsi Gabbard's reading of it, supposedly directed the intelligence community to go back and rewrite a single report that showed that the Russians did not hack the 2016 election and it didn't have any impact. The funny thing about it is, and I'm going to start with this premise. When I taught at the Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape School, which is our secret school for how to behave in front of the enemy, one of the things that we teach also operationally when you're doing operations like human intelligence, one of the things that we teach is don't lie. You can tell facts in such a way that they don't amount to the truth, right? But don't lie, because lies can be caught. And Tulsi Gabbard clearly has never gone to one of these schools, right? It's just
clearly.
So my first question to you is, one, why do they think attacking Barack Obama is going to work?
Well, because it's the greatest hits, and we've been here before. Donald Trump installed these people, these, incompetent sycophants, so they could do exactly what they're doing right now. We all know that he's incompetent, that he's a malignant narcissist, that he represents a clear and present danger to our democracy on every level, and that has played out virtually every week since he took the oath of office again, an oath that he doesn't give a damn about and doesn't care. He is living out his little authoritarian dream, ruining our democracy while he does it. People like Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, all of these people who are wholly unqualified for their positions shouldn't be anywhere near intelligence, national security, the Pentagon, none of these things. In normal times, not one of these people would get anywhere near an approval on a basic security clearance. Not one of them, given their backgrounds.
You know,
And Tulsi,
real quick, Joy Reid made a very good comment, and when I interviewed her a few weeks ago, she said, every one of these people is qualified to have been the spokesman for those departments, but not for the big job.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say that.
Yikes.
Given their backgrounds and given the problems, the ethical problems, Tulsi Gabbard's questionable relationships with Russia and Syria and some of the talking points, right? And Pete Hegseth and his background, like these, Malcolm, to go through a security clearance to get the level of security clearance you would need to even step foot in the door in these cabinet agencies or any of these intelligence agencies, it would forget it. So the fact that these are the people who are making these decisions and that the press treats them as if they're a normal DNI, like, we had James Clapper, okay, who is a legend, who is one of the best in the intelligence business, 50 years of experience. He had that job. And now we have Tulsi Gabbard. Why is she there? Because she's doing exactly what Donald Trump wants. She's going to go and gin up whatever BS evidence they claim that they now have of something that has been already litigated multiple times in the court of public opinion, in the Congress, in the Department of Justice. Robert Mueller did an entire, very thorough report on this. And she's going to go and find some conspiracy theory nonsense and go out there and make it look good because she looks good on camera. Let's be honest, Donald Trump cares about that. And present it in a way that makes it sound credible to his base. And unfortunately, the mainstream media eats it up because they want access. So they listen to her instead of constantly undercutting and undermining with facts, because like I said, we've already litigated this multiple times over, and saying, well, where's the proof of that? Well, wait a minute. The bipartisan Senate report that came out that was authored by the current Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, debunks everything that you just said. Like there's so many things here that could undermine what she's saying, but they give it airtime because they have to, and Trump knows that. That's why he throws out these bombs of attention, shiny objects. Obama should be prosecuted for treason. Like, this is insanity. But at the same time, it's coming from the president of the United States, throwing out terms like treason, which we all know is punishable by death. It's outrageous, and that's what they're there to do. They're all his henchmen to do his bidding.
Every time I hear this, the first thing I think of is, can these people read?
I know.
Are they actually literate? Because I happen to know that treason is the only crime listed in the Constitution of the United States. And it was narrowly defined. And I said this on one of my previous podcasts, that it was defined based on precisely what happened to George Washington as he was sitting at Benedict Arnold's breakfast table while Arnold was out meeting with Major Andre. And what it says is you have to be levying war against the United States, which Arnold did. Benedict Arnold wouldn't join British forces and fought in Southern Virginia against America. You have to be providing aid and comfort to them, which is also intelligence, but you have to be at war with an enemy. So you can't just say treason is what it used to be before the Magna Carta, which is King's law, which is you have betrayed me, and in my reckoning of it, you are a traitor to me and whatever I thought of 5 minutes ago. These people are nuts. It's not a question of the crime or whatever it is, because, as we know, Barack Obama has every bit of king-like immunity that Donald Trump has.
That's the irony of this, right? It's like, hello, Trump versus United States, the Supreme Court gave him this insane level of immunity,
Oh,
which
insane.
is just right.
I'm taking off my coat because I know we're going to fight here in a minute.
I mean, it gets you riled up, right? For those of us who actually do read and do understand the Constitution and do know the history here and do know the context and do understand what's at stake. Yeah, it gets you a little excited. It gets the blood pressure up. I should probably be drinking decaf coffee.
You and your education, you need to stop that stuff.
God
You're
forbid.
spreading it around like a virus.
I know, because Donald Trump doesn't like the poorly educated. So I guess we're treasonous too, because we're educated. But it was Frederick Douglass who said education is the key to freedom. And that's the reason why Donald Trump and MAGA goes after education, to undercut it and to inject propaganda. Because if people are not informed, if you don't have an informed citizenry, you can get away with the shit that he's doing. And that's a whole nother conversation. But
every week I do a radio program on Stephanie Miller radio show. She has about 6 million listeners a day for 3 hours. Pretty good show. But one of my favorite parts of that show is she made up a jingle, right?
Everybody loves a good jingle.
From a song, an old 80s song called A New York Minute. And it's called When the Black Guy Did It. So our presupposition here should be that when Barack Obama did everything that was good and decent in America, Donald Trump is now preternaturally predisposed to destroy it. He has it in his head that if the black guy did it, no matter how good it was, how nice it was, he must focus on destroying it. And this has got to be some sort of insane wet dream that he's been having.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, there's a couple things there. The first thing is, you mentioned the pre-Magna Carta, if it's against the king, it's treason, right?
Right.
Donald Trump thinks he's a king. He put himself on an AI rendering of Time magazine with the king's crown. Like, he embraces this. That is such an affront to what this country was founded on and why we fought a war and for independence. This is the same guy that also has no idea what's in the Declaration of Independence. Remember when he was asked about that? He has no idea. Right. He has no idea. None about the foundation of this country. So why would he respect it? And he's surrounded now by people who are these enablers / collaborators. And you want to talk about wet dreams. It's a big circle jerk of authoritarian dreams going on here in the West Wing of the White House. He doesn't have anyone in his inner circle anymore like he did the first time around. And that was bad enough. But at least he had people there that still respected the rule of law, still respected our democratic norms and institutions. There were guardrails, because the first term could have been way worse. And we know this from folks like Miles Taylor and others who were there, who witnessed it, who came out and said, let me tell you what we had to do to stop this. Those people are nowhere to be found this time around. There's no one. And so he's out here using taxpayer dollars, government accounts, all of these things, breaking all kinds of laws and rules, the corruption, the emoluments clause, getting rich off Bitcoin, and, all the stuff that launching products with his name on, all of these things, because he thinks he's the king. And all he cares about is that level of loyalty. So when it comes to the competent black guy, who actually is everything Donald Trump wishes he was, he's thin, he's in good shape, he has a wife who loves him, he's educated, had a successful presidency, he's beloved, you know, and
kids who could actually get into Harvard.
Correct.
On their own.
Exactly. Smart, and their women, daughters.
There you go.
Donald Trump, Barack Obama is everything Donald Trump isn't. And we all know that he has a long history of being a racist. And so he's not Donald Trump's idea of what a black guy could be. How could a black guy possibly be, all of these things? And so he's got a weird, but bee in his bonnet for Barack Obama, but mainly all of the things I just listed. And he is a screaming racist. And this is coming from someone who, I used to be a Republican for 27 years. I quit the party in 2020 after Donald Trump refused to concede the election. I was never a Trumper. I was a never Trumper from very beginning, from day one. And I, as a conservative, I thought for sure that people would live up to the Bill Buckley theme of we're supposed to be the ones that yell stop or thwart history when no one else will. We're supposed to approach prudence, things with our policy with prudence. We're supposed to be about individual empowerment and accountability and responsibility. I actually believed all that shit. And I actually found out that all of those people running around with their little pocket constitutions like Ted Cruz and others on Capitol Hill when I used to be a staffer up there, they're all full of shit. Because as soon as they saw the opportunity to get on the Trump train, because that was going to be their political, savior, they did it. And principles be damned. And so what we're seeing now is a decay, an erosion of all of those things. And it's bigger than just the party turning into this perverted, authoritarian, fascist party. It's affected our entire country, where we're seeing people snatched off the streets, due process, to hell with that. People getting confirmed to be federal court judges for lifetime appointments that are saying F you to the courts and with whistleblower complaints against them. I mean, all of the things that are going on, and we're just 6 or 7 months in, is all because Republicans were too chicken shit to stand up and say no and yell stop or thwart history when no one else would, when it was their responsibility to stop this bastard. And now we're all here having to pay the price for it.
But what I'm seeing is, as I saw this party descend into chaos. Look, I started as a Republican back in 1980, as a Reagan Republican, national security strong. I was Colin Powell Republican, national security strong, socially liberal. Those were two components the Republican Party could deal with back in those days.
Yes.
And that if you look at the XY axis, Colin Powell and I are way down in the lower left-hand quadrant of flamingly liberal, right?
Yes, we're all liberals now, by the way. We're all flaming liberals. I guess George W. Bush, Mr. Compassionate Conservatism. Oh, no, he's a flaming liberal, left-wing libtard, or whatever they call them now, by Donald Trump MAGA standards. I mean, look, Ronald Reagan wouldn't have been welcome in this party.
Richard Nixon created the Environmental Protection Agency and many of the regulations that are being gutted right now. But my point is this: clearly, oligarchy, right, has taken hold in America to where they are open, they are outright, they are brazen, right? Go get, and to put it in the Cash Money Brothers jargon, go get your money. Right? Let's go get our money. I got mine. You go get yours. Here's how you get yours. Literally the characters in Ayn Rand's Fountainhead, right? The government of nepotism and the hookup and gangsters all hooking each other up. The sole function of government in Ayn Rand's book was oligarchy and making money. And she was supposed to be some insane far-right conservative ideologue. And now it's almost like, oh, Fountainhead, that's actually a playbook. This is what we should be doing. Nobody run away to the mountains of Colorado. Go steal your money.
It's crazy. When I was the vice chair of the college Republicans at George Washington University, where I went to school, we used to debate the objectivists. Right. And they used to walk around with their Ayn Rand books and, have all these debates. And they were all like, the objectivists and then the libertarians and, and the Republicans. And we would all have these very highfalutin intellectual conversations dissecting the nuances of these political philosophies. I miss those days, frankly, because all of it was very notional. And, no one ever thought that we'd be living this out in real life. It's quite remarkable and saddening for me. It's very I'm like, what is happening? It's not notional anymore. This is what we're actually living through as a country. And Donald Trump is, I think lack of imagination has allowed a lot of this to happen too. So many people be like, well, he can't do this. Sometimes even I come from a law enforcement family. My grandfather was a World War II veteran and captain of my hometown police department in Paramus, New Jersey for 40 years.
Paramus.
Yes, that's where I grew up proudly.
That's where Campmore is.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm now 17. Indeed. That's where I used to get all my stuff to go to Girl Scout camp. Anyway, so I grew up in blue collar, Bergen County, New Jersey. My grandfather, his parents came over through Ellis Island as German refugees. They didn't say that back then, but they came here in the 1920s. Yes. They came over in the 1920s because some things were brewing in Germany. And they said, hell no, we're out of here. And, my grandmother's family, they're from Italy. My biological father, his family's from Guatemala. They left when the tanks were coming down the streets and, in the 50s in Guatemala. So, but I grew up with on my mom's side. My mom was a single parent. She had me at 21, and my mom was in show business, and she lived in New York City. And like, so I grew up in a very like all American parades every 4th of July. I mean, my grandfather was a volunteer fireman for 72 years. Okay. So all the way up until his dying day, he was part of that community in Paramus. And I grew up with that sense of community, that sense of going to get the paper for him every day and reading it. And, you know, going to the 4th of July parades every year as a kid. He marched in every parade from 1947 until 10 days before he passed in 2016 at 90. The police department literally wheeled him down the parade route because he said, I am not missing the parade. And 10 days later, he passed. And so like this part of what it means to be an American, what it means to respect our constitutional norms and all of those things are ingrained in my DNA. So when I see what these bastards are doing to our country and how they define what it means to be an American and how dare they do what they're doing, it's a visceral reaction. Yeah. That's why I fight so hard for it. That's why I started the Seneca Project with my co-founder Michelle Kinney. That's why I'm blessed to have the relationships I have with guys like you who are heroes in your service and what you've done, and you and Malcolm and so many others who have served this country with honor. And then you look at what this administration and what the Republican Party is allowing to happen. It's just an affront to all of that. And I think that's what rallies a lot of us and motivates a lot of us to keep in this fight, because it can be exhausting.
But what you just spelled out with your family history. I used to joke when I was married to my first wife, who was French Canadian, that we had a multinational, multilingual, multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-species, because we had beagles, all American family. Yeah. And what is happening now appears to be that we are having a coup d'etat of what America is, what defines America. And the coup is that a certain class of the uber rich and the uber poor, white, lower middle class and white billionaire elite have decided the definition of America is we will not be replaced in any aspect at any part of government, and we will run the government like, let me get this, my analogy right, Pottertown in, that Frank Capra movie from Christmas. It's a Wonderful Life, right? Wonderful Life, Pottertown, it went from Bedford Falls, which is actually based on a small town near where I live in upstate
Seneca
New York.
Falls.
Is it? Is Bedford Falls based on?
It was filmed there. Yes, Seneca Falls is where the inspiration for the name of our super PAC, the Seneca Project, came from, because it was where the 1848 first women's rights convention happened, and the anniversary of it was just recent, July 20th and 21st. And Michelle and I actually, before we launched the Seneca Project, took a little field trip to take it all in, and it was really, really cool.
Does it look like the movie set?
Of course it does. We took pictures on the bridge and the whole thing. I mean, it absolutely. It's a nice little town. It's beautiful up there. Great Rieslings in the Finger Lakes area. I'm a wine person, but no, it was just taking in all that history there. And Michelle was like, "This is where It's a Wonderful Life is." So I'm like, "Oh my God, that's right." And they have a little placard on the bridge and the whole thing. So yes, crazy. It's beautiful up there.
Well, my analogy still stands that if Seneca Falls is Bedford Falls, and it's beautiful and it's cute and it's all America, and a place where good, clean family fun can happen and people of goodwill and decency can be there.
Yes.
America is now Pottertown. And if you recall in the movie, Pottertown was gambling, casinos, strip clubs, right? Corrupt, dirty cops. that would shake you down, right? And hookers walking the streets
I
of a
mean,
1938
I could say
town.
something very vulgar about the current occupant of the White House and his wife,
Well,
but I
feel
will,
free. Well,
I
yeah. Well, now,
mean,
now you've got gambling, insider trading, open, blatant corruption. You could argue that you have, hookers and protectors
I mean,
of child sex traffickers in the White House at
mm-hmm,
this point. And this is a
yeah,
White House that's seen a lot of horrible things in its time, but not all of them compiled into one person. So my argument being that we are looking at a war for the definition of what America is. And one side has decided to just come in and decapitate everyone else's dreams, and that there will be one American dream, one religion, one color, one way of conservative ideology that's nothing like our conservative ideology,
right.
dominating this country's narrative forever. Would you
You
agree with
know,
that?
yes, yes, that's why the existential urgency and threat of the moment that we're in is
Mm,
so great. People, if you would have told us this 10 years ago that we would be here now and these are the types of conversations we're having right now, people would think we were nuts. I would be
right.
like, get the hell out of here. There's no way. I mean, I would have said, no way. If you would have told me that we were staring down the barrel of losing our democracy to an imperialist authoritarian sitting in the White House, ruling by executive order, dismissing Congress, ignoring court orders, and the Republican Party was going along with it, I would have told you you were insane. And yet here we are.
Mhm.
And nothing you said is hyperbole. None of
Mm,
it. We are literally living through a kakistocracy
right.
with
Stupidest
fashion,
people.
right? The stupidest, most unqualified people in positions of power, plus an oligarchy. Because those people are in power, it allows the elites with money to
Hmm.
run everything, basically buy their way into access and own the people who are in charge. And then you have a certain amount of there's like a plutocracy, kleptocracy thing all going on in there, little
Right,
elements
right.
of all of that, plus fascism.
Yeah, which
So
Mussolini defined as a dictatorship of the corporate right. And
yes,
don't tell me that isn't happening
I
right now.
mean,
Mm,
hello, Peter Thiel bought the vice presidency, and his tech bros in Silicon Valley with Palantir and all of the stuff that's going on, and the network states and Elon Musk and his bullshit, all of that going on, that undercurrent of what's happening under our noses, where we're now living in a full-blown surveillance state. They are they're all up in our government. There's no privacy anymore, right? Thanks to Doge
right.
and what Elon was allowed to get away with. Again, I remember the Republicans who would have flipped out 10 years ago if anything remotely close to what Doge did with infiltrating all of our private documents and all this. I remember the party where they flipped out over a national ID card. A
Right.
national ID card. Oh, no, it's the mark of the beast. No way. That's the government. It's a registry. They can't. Are you kidding me? Do you have any idea what's happening right now? They're all up in our social security information and everything else you could possibly think of. There is no privacy anymore. And a bunch of 19-year-olds named Big Balls have access to all of that stuff. And Republicans sat back and let it happen.
Well,
It's
because we also
crazy.
have this East German Stasi-like police state forming.
In ICE.
Only instead of making your neighbors drop dimes on you, the
Right.
entire government collective of every bit of information about you is about to become centralized database. That should be a top priority of any future administration would be to stop that, break it up, dissect that, because
I don't know how you put that genie
information
back.
is power. Now,
Yes.
information about you, the length of your eyelashes, the amount of times that, how often you buy toothpaste, what you
Mm-hmm.
file for in your taxes. This is centralized dictatorial power. They can
Yep.
craft propaganda to you and your dog because you order X amount from PetSmart, to propagandize you and turn the Constitution into a document written by traitors and all of these things. But,
Yes.
from the national security perspective, this is being taken out of the hands of professionals. This is now in the hands of computer programmers and evil, lazy Bond villains like
Yes.
Elon Musk, Mark Andreessen, David Sachs, and Elon Musk, 4 South Africans.
I was just gonna say there's a South African connection
A
here.
white
South
South
Africa
African coup d'etat,
apartheid. Yeah.
apartheidists are
Yes.
changing the entirety of the definition of America. And
Yes.
I really believe that movie with District 9,
District 9.
right? That movie of where rich people are, up on his space station or whatever. And, and
Elysium also was like that.
Elysium, that was Elysium.
Yeah.
And we and everyone else, ideologically, I think these guys who actually say this, they actually say this out loud. And with their philosopher king, Curtis Yarvin, who yesterday, I don't know if you saw it, he said billionaires in America aren't real billionaires. They are billionaire N-words because I shit you not. I shit you not. I have said on the record, Curtis Yarvin is the most dangerous ideological character since Osama bin Laden.
No argument here.
To poor billionaires, not like their white philosopher king billionaires, as billionaire N-words.
Where did he say this?
Just yesterday on Twitter.
Oh my God.
I'm not joking.
And people, listen, when I thought him saying that America needs to get over their dictator phobia and that people who don't contribute enough to society, we could just turn them into biofuel.
Right.
Which he did say, and the idea that democracy is like, we don't want that. We should have network states where these tech bro kings basically rule each one of these network states we don't have democracy and freedom anymore. I thought that was bad enough, but this guy, you're right, and he's crept under. He's been creeping around. He's flown under the radar for a long time, and this is a guy that Peter Thiel said was his political guru.
Good God, and I think he really believes there needs to be that. There will be the techno elite. There will be the clean techno billionaires who aren't billionaire N-words, and that every rest of us should be reduced to shanty towns to supporting them. This is beyond Pottertown, right? Yes. This is way beyond that. And the problem is that I have, as a national security professional, and like people in your family, there are real threats out there. Yes. Real threats that wish us ill and do us harm. And it reminds me of that Onion headline. Al-Qaeda releases its brilliant plan to destroy America by sitting back and eating popcorn. I mean, they don't have to do anything now. No. Our opponents are allowing America to be what it now wants to be, which is Potterville.
Listen, that was the whole point of Russia's attack on us, right? Mm-hmm. It was an asymmetrical warfare attack on us starting years ago. Yep. They studied us, they studied our culture, and they weaponized it against us. And that was what the 2016 Mueller report and the Russian interference into our election was about. It wasn't about going in and changing vote totals. It wasn't about that. It was, if for those who haven't, I mean, if you want to go back and read the Mueller report or just read the executive summary, you will see what they did and what they continue to do is they use social media and they use our own culture and our own racial and economic divisions against us. And they fuel the flames so that we would destroy ourselves from within. And it fucking worked. It's working. Their propaganda and their, what they did and with the bots and all of that with social media, it is the most successful intelligence psyops operation ever in history. Because look at where we are as a result of that. And Donald Trump was their stooge, useful idiot number one. And he's doing it willingly because they knew how to manipulate him. It started back in the 80s. They've been recruiting him for years.
Right.
And it worked, whether he wittingly or unwittingly. Look at what they've accomplished. They're sitting back, taking shots of vodka in the Kremlin, laughing their asses off, watching us destroy ourselves with this fool and his and his people and the American people, not us, the other half that bought into it, enabling this. It's a heavy lift, but I still think that there's more of us than there are of them. It's just a matter of explaining to people why, it's important to fight back against it. We can't just sit back and let it happen.
Yeah. In our last few minutes, because I know you have to go, people ask me all the time. They're like, Malcolm, what do we do? What tangibly can we do? I have tangibles that are coming that I spell out all the time. But with Seneca Project, tell us in your words, what is Seneca Project doing and how can people come and join and help you facilitate your actions?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Seneca Project was started by my co-founder, Michelle Kinney, and I last year during the election because we really wanted to focus on women and democracy because there's been such an assault on women's rights and freedoms in this country post-Dobbs. I mean, it's been going on for quite some time, but post-Dobbs, it's the first time that an entire group of people in the United States have actually lost a right. And women are more than half the population. We lost a right. And so we wanted to give a permission structure to women, particularly in swing states, that listen, we don't care who you voted for before. None of that matters as long as you don't vote for him this time, because there's so much at stake here. So we are a content organization. And so we used Michelle is an award-winning creative director. And I come from political communications background. She was a Democrat. I was a Republican. So I understand how to fight these fights. And I understand how to, we talk about asymmetrical warfare. It's the dark arts of comms where you have to meet people where they are and do it in a way that's not the same tired way of politically communicating to folks. And so that's how we started. And we, obviously the result wasn't what we wanted it to be. There were down ballot wins, and we're glad about that at the state level. Those things matter. But we produced a lot of really, really excellent content during the election last year. And our ad American Girl, speaking about what it means to be an American, went super viral, and we won a Webby Award for it, which was quite an accomplishment for us as a young, new, women-led, very small organization, and that we started with our own money. So since the election, we had to recalibrate a little bit and focus more on the democracy side and coming from the perspective of women, because if we don't save our democracy, nothing else matters. So we are a super PAC. So there's no limit to the amount of financial support for us. But we do run solely on donations and the generosity of the good folks out there who want to see us continue to put out that type of content. I think it's important. We're filling the void where the Democratic Party can't get out of its own way. And we're like, listen, if you have to go on offense all the time. And that's the philosophy that I bring to this, because I know from being on the other side, I know what Republicans do. I was part of it. I was part of that. And so I'm like, offense, listen, defense may win championships in football, but offense wins elections. So you can't be on defense all the time. And Democrats have still not really figured out how to go on offense, because the other side never stops. They march lockstep constantly. So
because we're nice and we have to let the tea cool.
No, exactly. No. Okay. I'm from Jersey. If I didn't mention that, there is no, this is nice. No. Okay. Michelle is from New York. We are killer messengers. We're like, I use a Navy SEAL reference, which you'll appreciate. We are the precision killers that tip of the spear, you send us in to do the job that others can't do. And that's what we have prided ourselves on. That's what we continue to do. We're trying to go on offense and fill the void where the Democratic Party is not, because we can't sit around and wait for them to get it together. I hope they do, because we need everybody, but that's what we're doing. And like I said, as a smaller women-led organization, sometimes it's harder for us to raise money because people don't inherently trust women the same way they do men, which is a whole other conversation. But That's so we hope that the generosity of the American people who believe in what we're doing and want to support us will continue, so we can continue to do this work as we build up. We're in the fight now. We've been in the fight from day one. We took maybe 2 weeks off to kind of recover during the holidays after the election, and then right away we put out an ad called "Do Not Obey in Advance." And immediately, to keep people in the fight, to understand why we have to stay in this fight, because they want to exhaust us. That's part of their playbook. They want to run us down. They want us not to have hope anymore. They want us to just obey. And we refuse to do that. And as Americans who love this country, all of us who are here, who appreciate what this country means for all the reasons, we have to stay in this fight. So that's what we're doing at the Seneca Project. And you can find us at senecaproject.us. You can follow us on all the socials at Seneca Project US. Like and subscribe on our YouTube channel at Seneca Project. You can see all of our content there. And we also have a streaming show called The Stakes that we do every Thursday at 7:30 live. And we do a show called Over It as well. That's 4 of us. There's 4 women that they're not part of Seneca, but we do more, because we have to stay present, and we have to keep people engaged, and we have to keep people, informed, because they're counting on people not being informed, and they're counting on them being exhausted. And we just want to build that community so people know we're all in this together.
Well, I am absolutely glad that you came on board here and enlightened us and gave us your political analysis. But more importantly, I am convinced now that women will be the downfall of Donald Trump, just in the way that he didn't think what was happening when he was exploiting them. So thank you so much for coming
Thank
here,
you.
explaining what Seneca Project does, and
Yes.
opening my eyes to another avenue of information. So
Yeah,
thanks.
thank you.
And
Thank you so much.
we'll have you on again.
I hope to do it. And right now we actually have an ad that we re-released called Predator, about Donald Trump and Epstein, and his history, very creepy, unsettling history with women, and particularly young women. We put that out during the election, and unfortunately it's relevant again. And this whole Epstein, Maxwell, Trump debacle that's going on, it's not going to die down. And it shouldn't. I mean, it's weird that all of the things that he's done, that this is the thing that MAGA may split MAGA apart, but it speaks to the heart of their whole trust in him. We all know he's a lying liar who lies, but for the MAGA folks, this is new to them. He's never really lied to them about something as important to them as this, because he's all up in it, and we all know it, and they can't make the MAGA math. They're like, hey, you said this, you were going to release it, but you were friends with him. And now this whole Ghislaine Maxwell thing, that, wait a minute, what do you mean you won't? You're saying that you might pardon her? Wait, you were friends with them for decades? Like, all of these things, the more he opens his mouth, the more, the deeper the hole he digs here on this, because he's lying to cover his own ass. So we need to keep the pressure on him about that, and make sure that, either you are against child sex trafficking predators or you're not. There is no gray area here. And right now he's trying to thread a needle in a gray area, and everybody, including MAGA, is calling bullshit on it, as we need to continue to do. Keep the pressure on.
I'm going to go out and I'm going to watch that video, Predator, on your Seneca Project YouTube page. So thanks again for coming.
Thank you, Malcolm. Thanks for having me.
Wow, great discussion. And thank you for coming to this week's episode of Black Man Spy. If you are not subscribed, subscribe to Black Man Spy on Apple, Stitcher, Audible, other platforms. You can find me at the Black Man Spy YouTube channel for the video version of this, and at malcolmnance.substack.com, at Malcolm Nance on Twitter, at malcolmnance.bsky.social, and also on Threads, Instagram, all these other places you can find by Googling Malcolm Nance. Just FYI, I do not direct message people and ask for money. So if you're a subscriber, subscribe. But if you're a Nigerian prince, stop using my name. So with that, thank you for coming to this week's edition. I will see you all next week on the beach.